Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About Education with Antonio Corrales. We have talked in this show before about what does it mean to allow students to learn about different programs and to develop their careers. But what does it mean to teach and direct a computer science program at a university level? Well, today we have the honor to have with us Krishani Abeysekera, who is going to be telling us in simple terms what does it mean to be running a computer science program at a university level, specifically digital forensics, and what does that mean for students and their careers. Christiane, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Why don't we start by, Christiane, letting you introduce yourself to the audience and kind of letting them know how do you get to where you are in your career?
Okay. So I'm Krishani Abeysekera. I started off thinking I want to do medicine, but then I was introduced to computers a long time ago, and that just got me going. I couldn't stop since I started working with computers, and so I went into a computer science field instead. Best decision I ever made. And the next best decision I made was going into teaching computer science. And so technology is going to be there always. It's never going to go away. Not in this day and age.
Correct.
And a lot of people are tech savvy.
Yeah.
Or they think they're tech savvy. But what they are is not tech savvy. They are just users of technology. They actually have no clue what this technology can actually do. So forensics shows exactly what we can do with this technology and what people who really don't want, who shouldn't be doing things, can really do with this technology as well. So I love to teach students how technology actually works, not just use technology, but actually show them how it works so that they really have a good idea about what is happening behind the scenes and why it's so important to understand what you're using rather than just use anything that they have.
That is fantastic. For the students and school administrators and superintendents who may be looking at us right now, and they may be even student counselors who may be trying to advise students to pursue careers, when thinking about computer science, why do you think that, or what would you recommend students to pursue careers in computer science?
Like I said, it's never going to go away.
Exactly.
And the demand is always going to be there. You can outsource anything, but at the you still need people to set up the systems, to administer the systems that you can't give to other people. Even if you outsource your servers to someone else, someone has to be there to help with the people who have to work with these systems, right? And as technology advances, you need to have more people working on these systems to do other things.
But what about the job opportunities? What have you seen during the past years for students pursuing computer science careers in terms of jobs? Have you seen them? What direction do you see them going the most, and why?
Okay, so it has never gone down. If you've seen for the past 10 to 12, 10 years, it's always been one of the top 10 careers with the most pay. Top 10 paid careers.
Correct.
Now, of course, there are different layers in there. I mean, depending on whether you have an associate's degree versus a master's degree versus a PhD and all that.
Correct.
But still, it has never gone away. And it's only, and they are in the very high range. And people really, really need the technology. They are in everything. Like if you go into an ISD, they have to have the technology specialists.
Correct.
In all different ranges, So I don't have students who don't have jobs when they graduate.
Correct.
Most of them, in fact, get jobs while they are working because they already have some kind of technical background, and there are people waiting to get them in.
And they have a variety of jobs from even on charge of the technical department of a company to on charge of
a database versus
database.
So depending on where you want to be, you can be help desk or support or hardware specialist or creating applications. So usually when you say computer science, people only see people who are creating programs.
Correct.
But that's not all it is. Then there are the network administrators and the database administrators, the systems administrators, you know.
Correct.
And then there are the managers who are managing these tech people, you know. They all have to have all of that. So you can't manage someone without knowing the details of what needs to be done, right?
Absolutely.
Same thing, you can't manage a system without understanding how the system works. So there are very different branches of computing.
Exactly.
Like you could have computer information systems versus computer science, computer engineering, information technology. All of them are all part of technology.
Absolutely.
You know?
Now, your area, or your main area of expertise, among others, is digital forensics, right? Can you explain to the audience what really digital forensics means, and why it's important for students to start getting familiarized with that?
Okay, so I was explaining to my students just a little while ago. Digital forensics tells you exactly how the system stores information. So
Okay.
just because you think you've deleted something does not mean it's actually deleted. It just means that you can't see it.
That's interesting.
Right. So but you can still, using the proper tools, you can go and look at everything. So even if you format a disk, which is what most people think is the best way to delete things, even if you format a disk, that doesn't mean the information is deleted. You just can't get to it. But if you have the tools, I can go and grab everything you have done. I can say you deleted this yesterday, but it's still there.
And that is super important for when getting into the cybersecurity world,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, it's super important to these students, kids, who think they're so tech savvy
Oh, correct.
that they know what's happening.
And
Like,
in reality, what you were saying, they're more user savvy,
they are
but
user
not
savvy.
technology
They are
savvy.
not technology savvy. So, for instance, when we say be very careful about what you upload on the internet, you can upload a picture. Maybe they were not in the place they were supposed to be, but they upload the picture and then say they actually name it and say I was in the right place. Guess what? Most of the pictures are taken with digital cameras that have GPS on it. So the metadata of that picture has exactly the longitude and the latitude of where you took that picture.
Wow.
So just because you say you took it somewhere else doesn't mean that's true.
They
And
can really figure out where you really
right.
took it.
So predators can say this is where that child is, even if you never put that your address or your phone number. Predators can, if they are tech savvy enough, they can go in and grab the metadata and say, oh, I know exactly where this picture was taken.
What about passwords? When you're, for example, you're accessing your, especially students who are looking at us right now, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. Even if they delete those passwords, the password might still there, right?
Right, because nowadays students don't want to, spend time putting in the passwords. What do? They store their passwords. I mean, they say, okay, let Internet Explorer store my passwords. The Windows registry has all that information. It's stored in there. So if you know how to get into that Windows registry, if you know how an NT-hash word is set up, there are so many open source software that will go in and decode it for you.
And what about Apple with the face recognition?
Well, face recognition again. Now, if you go in on Facebook and you look, if you put two people that look the same, I mean similar, they would think that that's the same person,
That's the
right?
same person, yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much of, yes, we write a lot of technology behind it to make sure that doesn't happen, but there's always those things that can go wrong, right? And so, but what happens is, because these students think, kids nowadays, because they start using their phone when they are 1 year old, right? They're playing with the phone.
Yes.
So they are under the impression that they are very tech savvy.
Correct.
But they're tech users.
Exactly.
And they do not know how the information is stored or what they are giving out to the public.
Yeah. Now, when talking about cybersecurity and analyzing the cybersecurity topic in broad terms, because now cybersecurity is becoming a national security theme topic for every country in the world, every organization in the world. And I know one of your tasks here in the University of Houston is training students to eventually become experts on cybersecurity. What are the most important things that you can share with students and superintendents, school administrators, about things that we as educators, teachers, principals have to be aware about cybersecurity?
Murphy's Law, pretty much.
Okay.
If it can go wrong, it most probably will go wrong at some point.
Exactly.
No, but actually, to be serious, security is very common sense.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that you can do that can prevent a whole lot of headaches. Like, for instance, making sure the upgrades are done on a timely manner. Making sure your passwords are very secure. It has those stringent rules saying it can't be just 3 characters or 8 characters. It has to be uppercase, lowercase. Making sure the right people have access to the right things. Most of the time, a account that is not used is a very easy way for someone to get in, because no one is going to be there to say there's something going on.
Correct.
So, like, I teach my students a lot of times, and tell other people, most of the time your common sense way of doing it and setting up your systems the right way, the correct way, prevents a whole lot of stuff. Then on top of that, you have to pad it with the tools that you add to it. But if you have a packet, a firewall, and you set it up correctly so that not everyone comes in, if you make sure that all those services that you don't need are definitely deactivated. You don't want, sometimes people come and say, oh, there's a problem with chat, and someone might say, but I don't have chat on my system. That doesn't mean it's not working on your system. It just means that you're not using the chat system, right?
Correct.
So you want to make sure that you disable that system if you're not using it. So only have what you need, because anyone who wants something is going to come and ask you.
Correct.
No one is going to ever say you gave me too much.
Correct.
Right? So make sure that you give the bare minimum of what you need in terms of privileges or anything. So it's very easy to do if you look at it and you are very methodical about it and you administer it correctly, right?
Correct.
And you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to do this. That's most people think a tool is going to take care of it. But I tell my students all the time, a machine is only as good as the person who actually runs it. Just like a program is only as good as the person who wrote it.
Correct.
And if the person doesn't know what they're doing, that machine can't give back to you what you want.
Interesting. Now, for our educators who are looking at us right now, there's the topic of when is the right time to start learning about computer science and learning about forensics and learning about cybersecurity. And there's a lot of schools who are trying to incorporate STEM education almost in kindergarten level,
Right.
and starting. So, first of all, I wanna hear your opinion about when do you think is a good age to start introducing in the curriculum aspect of computer science, and number 2, what venues do you recommend for students and educators to look for information to learn more about cybersecurity, computer science, and forensics?
Okay. So I haven't really thought about it in terms of elementary school or anything, but I do think the earlier the better. So like middle school, where people really understand. You have to have that understanding of what is happening, right? You can't tell people about these things without them knowing what is going, without them having that interest.
Correct.
So you need to build that interest.
Correct.
So it's really important that we build that interest. So, showing things that can go wrong, relating everyday things that we do to how it can mess things up, I think that is really a good way of getting them involved in it. And making sure, and even if they don't, for me, my goal is, even if they don't go into STEM, for them to understand the limitations that they have if they don't really understand how technology runs our life. For instance, nowadays I can be here and on my phone I can look and talk to my dog at home and say, don't do that.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
But the thing is, if I'm doing that, someone else can be watching me do that too.
Exactly.
And getting into the system at my home.
Getting into your house.
Getting into my house.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be actually there to do something. They can be outside and doing something too.
Wow.
To do something inside.
And for students, how important it is for them to know this.
Yeah. So we need to relate these everyday things that are happening to these students. Just showing it is not enough. I can show them how easy it is to crack the password. But if I go in and crack their password, now that's going to hit them,
exactly.
right?
It's going to be impactful.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they see something on the news and I show how that, how that could have... So it has to be those everyday things that
they can relate
to. Yes.
Now, for your students, do you see the change from them? I mean, what type of changes or evolution do you see once they get to your program in computer science and once they leave the computer science?
So there are some students who come in with absolutely no clue of... I mean, they know they want to work in technology, but no clue of what they want to do.
Yeah.
But then, so some of the students who come into like the networking class, they suddenly, that light bulb goes off. This is what I want to do, not programming.
Exactly.
Okay? And then there are the ones in the programming class who say, this is exactly what I want to do. I don't want to be doing anything else.
Exactly.
So the most important thing I want to do in my very first class, in the technology class, the very first class is to show them all the different possibilities. Because computing is not just programming. Computing is not just administering. There are so many opportunities everywhere, right? So cybersecurity is one thing, digital forensics is one thing, and there are so many different things. So to give them that idea so that they have because when I joined computer science, that was the only thing that was available. Computer science was the only thing.
Correct.
But now I have changed my direction from, what I was doing to now digital forensics and network forensics, and network security.
Correct.
So I've come a long way from programming to that.
Exactly.
So it's with the opportunities that I see and what is available, because most people don't see that. They only see computer science, right?
No, and absolutely. And I want to put your information at the end of the interview, so that way if some educators want to contact you for you to even conference call to students or whatever, that way you can talk to them and tell them. But I want to thank you one more time for being with us today.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for everything. And folks, remember that we had the interview and many others in Antonio Corrales' YouTube channel. Let's talk about education with Antonio Corrales and Sterling Evaluation and Assessment.com. Please help somebody today and see you next time.
Thank you.